welcome everybody to Drunk Dudes in a Gun Room. Today is going to be a fun episode. I can guarantee that. Today we have got Lord Tim Heale. He is a #1 bestseller on Amazon. He was in the British Royal Army, from an infantry soldier to an experienced PSYOPS. Trust me when I tell you that he has done a bunch of stuff. We're going to get into it. So let's bring on Tim. Hey, how's it going there, Tim?
Thanks for having me, Donald. I'm looking forward to this.
Oh, I have been looking forward to it for the last couple of weeks. Having to reschedule broke my heart because I know this is going to be a fun podcast.
Well, I mean, we're talking about my favorite subject, me.
Yep. So go ahead and tell everybody a little bit of back history. What brought you to the military, and tell them a little bit about yourself.
God blimey. Well, it starts with little way back. I was born and brought up on a farm here in England, and up to the age of 10, I was going to be a farmer. I was going to follow my grandfather and my uncles into farming. Now, at the age of 10, over here, you take what was then called the 11 plus. Now, the 11 plus is like to see how clever you are. Now, unbeknownst to me, I suffer from a little bit of dyslexia back then, and I still do to this day. But that's besides the point. Anyway, I took the 11 plus and failed it miserably. Then I was going to go to an agricultural boarding school, and to be able to go to that boarding school, I had to go and take an entrance test. It's a bit like the 11 plus. Well, you got it. I failed that miserably as well, and didn't get a place to go to this agricultural school. The knock-on effect of that is I couldn't really go into farming unless I wanted to be a labourer, and I didn't fancy that. I fancy sort of.
Yeah.
So I thought, right, can't go into farming. What do? I'll go and join the army. So at the age of 14 3/4, you're allowed to go and take the test to join the army, and join the army at sort of 15 and a half. So I went and took the test, went up to the recruiting office, took the test, failed that miserably. The recruiting sergeant, he says to me, son, if you can't read, write proper like what I does, you've got no chance of getting in the army. Well, I suggest you go and have a chat with yourself and do a bit of learning, and then maybe come back in a year or two to see if you've got any chance then. Well, that was a bit of a blow. So that weekend I went away and I gave myself a stern talking to. And the following week I went to school, and I spent an awful lot of time bunking off because I just didn't get on with school. But I went into every class, every lesson that week. Half of the teachers thought I was a new student. They'd never seen me. Anyway, so I knuckled down for about 6 months. I worked my socks off. And I went back to the recruiting office with a mate of mine who's a bit cleverer than I. And oh, it's you, he says, all right, sit down, lads. There's the test papers. Look, I trust you. I've got to pop out and do something else, but get on with the test and I'll come back and mark it later. Anyway, did the test. My mate gave us a few of the answers. Signed. No problem at all. You're good enough for the infantry. So on the 5th of August 1974, I turns up at the Depot de Queen's Division as a junior soldier in the Royal Anglian Regiment. And that's where my career started, way back in 74.
I was negative 2 months.
I can only apologise for that. It had nothing to do with me.
Yep. So, one thing I said was going to talk about is the training. So,
yep.
How long is y'all's basic training and your advanced training?
Well, back then, as a junior soldier, we did a 24-week course as junior soldiers.
Okay.
At the end of that 24 weeks, we had a couple of weeks leave, and then we came back and we did another 12 weeks as adult training.
Okay.
Now, the junior training was a bit harsh, because it was made up of lads a bit like me that weren't the sharpest academic types,
Mhm.
but we was more physical types.
Right.
And it was physical. And we had a platoon sergeant, and the corporals were pretty rough, but the platoon sergeant was hard as nails. He was a battalion boxer, and you had two opportunities. You muck up the first time, you get a warning. You muck up a second time, there's two punishments. You can accept my punishment, or you can go on orders and lose money. I'll take your punishment. And that generally was a dig. Like hell. Trust
Yep.
me. But it was better than having pay taken off you,
Yep.
which back in them days was pretty poor. I must admit, we was on what, £4.72 a day. And out of that, and out of that, there was deductions and all sorts. So by
Yeah.
the time you went and did your handed you over your paybook and saluted, you got about £5 back.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know. So for us, it's like our basic training is about 8 weeks, and then our advanced training is another 13 to 14 on average. It depends on what your job's going to be. So ours is a lot less than what your guys's are, and our first 8 weeks sounds real similar to what your
Yeah,
first 24 was. But the pay for me, I mean, I came in 94, so I came in 20 years later, but I still remember. I think everybody remembers that first paycheck. Yeah, and mine was like for the month I made 730 bucks. I think it was for the month is about what I got. So I think that's something that's ingrained in every soldier is that first paycheck. Maybe it's just because of how young we were, because
yeah.
because at the time I was ecstatic. I thought that was pretty good. I look back now and I'm like, how did we even live off that?
Yeah, well, we never did. I mean, they took off that £4.72. They took off food and accommodation charges,
Yeah,
and then the incidentals that you run up against. If you lost some kit, you get charged for that. Buying fags for the corporal, and yeah, it was like slave labour. But I
yeah,
mean, the daily routine was that we were in a hut of about 20 beds and 20 lockers, and every morning we had to take down the bed and build a bed block. That's using your blankets and your sheets to stack up into a block, and then you have to lay all your kit out on your bed in a particular way, and it had to be really stiff. And that first 6 weeks, I don't think anybody survived an inspection without having their bed upturned or their locker going out the window. Yeah, it was a real muckabout. Um, after the first 6 weeks, that's when we sort of passed off the square. So that first 6 weeks was pretty much physical PT and square bashing. So
yeah,
there's lots and lots of marching, rifle drills and stuff like that. Lots of PT,
yep,
getting us fit, and we marched off the square, passed off the square, but I'll tell you how rough it was. We started off with 3 platoons with about 100 strong in the platoon. By the time we passed off the square, our platoon was down to 30, and so was the others. I think it was a pretty brutal regime, and they certainly weeded out the weaklings.
Yeah.
It got a little bit easier after that. We got an inspection probably once a week, full kit on the bed and all the rest of it. And then we went on to lots of different training and different weapon systems and different tactics. That was the rest of it. Did quite a lot of sports. Played a lot of rugby back then. Did a lot of running. A lot of PT every day. Yeah, that 24 weeks was pretty full on. We got to do some adventurous training. We got 2 lots. We got an early lot. We went up to the mountains in England, and we did some potholing, a bit of climbing, and stuff like that. And then I think it was the March, we got an opportunity to go to Germany, to Bavaria, to go skiing. And we had sort of 2 weeks skiing in Bavaria. Then we went across to adult training, and that we joined them at their 12-week point, and we did their last 12 weeks of training, which was more infantry stuff, more weapon systems, before we got posted off to our battalions. And I got posted off to the 2nd Battalion, the Royal Anglian Regiment, known as the Poachers. Mm-hmm. And that comes from the Lincolnshire Poachers, which were the 10th of Foot back in the day. And I joined them in Munster in Germany with a few of the other lads. And spent a year in Germany before we got posted back to England.
What part of Germany were you in?
We was in Munster, Westphalia.
Okay.
So if you look at Germany, it's about the middle. If you come across from the Hook van Holland, come almost straight across, you got Munster is just north of Osnabrück, okay, and just south of Bremen.
Okay. I did. I was over there for 3 years in Baumholder.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's further south.
Yep.
Yeah. So Munster was great. It was a real proper drinking culture back then.
That was the part about Germany I liked. I can tell you that much. You know.
Yeah, I mean the sort of you wouldn't see the officers. Probably saw the platoon commander once, maybe twice a week. The platoon sergeants, you'd see them up until lunchtime. Mm-hmm. And you wouldn't see them again because they'd be down the sergeant's mess at lunchtime, and that was their day done. The corporals weren't too bad because we were a mechanised battalion. We had what we call 432s, which was armoured personnel carriers. So we spent a lot of time working on vehicles, cleaning, maintenance, and all that sort of thing. And that was Germany. So we'd normally knock off at sort of 4 o'clock in the afternoon and get down into the. It was an old Nazi camp, an SS, a Waffen SS camp that we were on, and down in the basements we set up company clubs. So we go down there after work, have a few sherbets, and then about sort of 7 or 8 o'clock, go and get changed, then go downtown and be downtown on a few more sherbets, getting back at sort of 2-3 o'clock in the morning, couple of hours kip up at sort of 6, half 7, 6, half 6, going out for a run before breakfast. We were functioning alcoholics, basically.
Yep. I think that is like the primary job of every soldier. It doesn't matter what country you come from.
Yeah.
Every soldier.
Of course, it's a lot different nowadays. It is a lot different nowadays. I don't think the young fellas would be able to cope, but their livers wouldn't cope with it. That's for sure. Start.
No, I do have my doubts that some of the soldiers nowadays could handle the things that we put our bodies through.
Yeah,
That is true.
we were a different breed. That's for sure.
So I remember I'll tell you a funny story. I only been to England one time. It was a very, very brief overnight stay. We were on our way to Afghanistan, and we laid over in England. I don't even remember where we were
It'd
at.
have been Bryce Norton, I guess, unless you went to American base, and that would have been
American base.
on American base. That would have been Lakenheath.
Okay.
It's over in Norfolk, Suffolk Way.
Okay. So we landed there to refuel, and the plane broke down, and so we stayed overnight. And me and the guys decided we were going to go downtown and find a restaurant and have a couple drinks and get some food. And
I guess that was off down into Thetford, was it?
I honestly I don't remember. As a matter of fact, by the time the night ended, I barely remembered the night. So we found this little, I guess it was a bar that they served food too, and I experienced my first black and tan there, and I started drinking, and then we started doing liquor, and somebody asked the girls there what time they closed, and they said when you stop drinking.
Got a lock in.
Yep, and that sounded like a challenge. So we kept drinking, and then they told us that that the rest of the drinks were free, but we had to drink what they were making. And I don't remember anything after that. The guys told me the next morning that on our way back, I was stopping people, asking them if they seen Bin Laden, that we were looking for them. That was,
I guess you eventually found him then.
yeah, eventually, But man, it was the longest flight to Afghanistan. Oh man, I was so hungover that next morning. I have no clue what was in those drinks, but I was miserable the next day.
Brilliant.
I still remember when they lowered that ramp. We landed, it was like in July, and it was like noon in Kandahar, man. And I didn't think I had anything left in my body to puke or crap out or anything anymore. And when that ramp came down, I started dry heaving. When that heat hit me, I said, "Oh my God."
Yeah, tad warm, was it?
Yeah, oh, it was hot. It was hot, man. But it was a good time.
So anyway, after spending a year in Munster in Germany, we got posted back to England to a place called Gillingham in Kent, and we were there for 2 years. Well, I say we were there for 2 years. We was away more than we was there. We did a Northern Ireland tour from there. That was my first tour of Northern Ireland in 1977. We went to the Ballymurphy in Belfast, West Belfast, and that was a tasty tour. We had lots and lots of different incidents. We had rocket attacks. We had riots nearly every other day. We had shootings, you name it, we got into it. Riots, I mean, just riots were just ridiculous. It just sparked. All we had to do is walk into to the ball ring and it'd kick off.
Yeah.
We had a rough old time there, and it was hard because we had to get other units in to help us out because we were so fragged. We were probably working 18 hours a day most days. The only time you got a little tiny bit of rest was when you was in camp on sangers,
Mm.
which was you were guarding the camp, and we had, I think, 5 sangers around the camp, plus the gate to look after and the back gate. So we got 2 gates and 5 sangers. So that took up the whole section. So
Yeah.
a whole platoon would be on that, and you'd be doing 2 hours on, 4 hours off. Then you'd be on patrols for 2 days. We had a 6-day week, rolling week.
Mhm.
So we'd do 2 days of patrols. And when you're out on patrol, you was out on patrol best part of 12, 15, sometimes 18 hours a day. Then you were on QRF. So you came off the sangers, you went on to QRF, Quick Reaction Force. And that meant that you was sat in the waiting room ready to go at a moment's notice if something kicked off. And it generally did. So when you're on QRF, you crashed out all the time. So by sort of halfway, 3/4 way through the tour, we were getting other units in to come out and help us do patrolling and stuff like that. We lost a few guys on that tour, blown up and shot at. One particular incident, we'd been out there for about 2 months, and my 4-man brick, my section commander, he always travelled on the front left. I was on the front right of the section. I had a guy called Terry behind me. He had a guy called Chris behind him. And during training, we'd practice. We come around the corner, change, so we just swap sides. But we never did it once we got out there. So we've been out there for about 2 months, and we came out at the place called the Moyard. We came down into Spring Hill Avenue,
Mhm.
and as we came around the corner, he said, "Change." What? So we swapped sides. We hadn't gone more than 50 metres down this road, and 2 shots rang out. One hit him and went straight through his groin and out of his backside. The other one went in through somebody's kitchen. I fired back 2 rounds. The first round must have winged past this bloke's head because he dropped the weapon and scarpered. The second one, because it was going up, I took out a stained glass window of Corpus Christi Church in the Moyard. So glass everywhere. But when because I fired the second round, looked over, saw him hit the ground. And as he's hit the ground, he's got onto the radio, because he was the only one with a radio, of course. Didn't have a lot of comms back in them days.
Yeah.
He sent a contact report. He said, "Hello, 1, this is 13 Bravo. Contact, Spring Hill Avenue. Send Starlight. I've been shot in the arse. Out." So after he sent that contact report, it got really, really scary because the streets started to fill up.
Yeah.
There was just the 4 of us. We lost the rest of the platoon. They were still stuck up the other side of the Springfield Road. They didn't get to us till about 4 minutes after the contact report went out. The ambulance arrived just before them. It was a Saracen ambulance, so it's an armoured ambulance. So we dragged him into this alleyway, followed up one thing and another. We recovered the weapon, which was an M1 carbine, courtesy you guys. Thank you very much. And it still had a few rounds left in it, so they could have taken us all out if they were any good. They weren't. Yeah, and a fortnight later, after he was casevaced out, I got blown up with another lad. We got crashed out. We were on QRF. We got crashed out to what they call Kelly's Corner, which is the junction of Springfield Road, White Rock Road. And as we got up there, the post office van was being sort of bricked and things. They started chucking stones and things at us, so we extracted around the back of the houses on the corner. And as we were going over the fence to come around a different way, there's some clown hit a tit, and done a command deck. Blew two of us up. My mate copped most of it, and he had, I think, somewhere around about 175 stitches up his back. I had a big nugget on my head where I landed on my Swede. I got blown up into the air and landed on my head. They took him off to hospital, and I was left on the streets for another 6 hours while we did a follow-up on this, and I was suffering concussion, and I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't hear a thing. I was Mutt and Jeff.
Yeah.
Because of the explosion. Yeah, pretty grim time, that tour. But we got back off of that tour. We had some other fun stuff. We did a trip to Italy. We did an exchange with the Alpinis. That was fun. We spent sort of the first 2 weeks chasing them up and down dry slopes and stuff like that in the mountains. And it was quite funny because they get a sachet of brandy for breakfast and some porridgey type stuff. I mean, we were eating the same as what they were eating, pasta for lunch and dinner, and lots of wine. So we were pissed most of the time. Yeah, so we spent 3 weeks chasing the Alpines around the mountains, and then we went down to Venice. And we had a sort of a long weekend break down in Venice before coming back. We did a Norway tour, which was great fun. We did an exercise in Denmark. That was quite fun. We were guarding this road, and this American truck came down. so we opened up on it, stopped it, and it was a ration truck. We spent the rest of the exercise eating American rations.
I apologize for that because the rations are definitely not very good, I'm sure.
They call them MREs.
Yep.
What do they call them?
Meals ready to eat.
Yeah, no, we call them something else.
Yeah.
Can't remember what we called them. Yeah, they were like cardboard.
Back then, those were the dark brown ones too, right?
Yeah.
They were dark brown. Yeah.
This is back round about 76, 1976, somewhere around about there. Yeah. K rations.
Yep. Yeah. Oh man, I apologize. Oh.
The ice cream had melted.
Yeah. There's no food in those. I don't know what they make that stuff out of, but it's not food.
So the halfway through 1978, we got the best posting we ever had, Berlin. So Berlin was awesome. Back in 78 to 80, we were there, 2.5 years in all. And yeah, what a fantastic place Berlin was back then. We were in a camp called Montgomery Barracks, which was the other side of Gatow, which was our airfield, in a village called Kladow, and it was right on the wall. So where my quarter was, because I'd got married by then, my quarter was literally 100 meters from the wall.
Oh, wow.
The other side of this wall was a big Russian camp.
Really?
And they used to drive the tanks around all the time. Yeah, you got used to it in the end. But yeah, it was originally it was a bit scary, but we decided that they weren't going to bother coming for us.
Yeah. Wow, man, that you think about all the history, that you just talked about,
Well, Rudolf Hess was still alive. So we were having to guard Spandau prison, and I did that once and got into trouble. Apparently, you're not supposed to look at him when he's doing his exercise in the yard. You're on the sort of the guard towers round, and you just look over. You're supposed to be looking out, not in. So I looked down. I saw Hess one day just sort of sat there reading or whatever he did. And he looked up, saw me, and the next thing I know, I got a bollocking for looking at him. And then we used to do what we call flag tours. So we had big Opel Imperials. They're like big limousines, big Black Mariah type limousines, and they'd be 4 year done up in your number 2 dress, which is that one just up behind my head there. Can you see it?
Yep.
That's the number 2 dress. That one, yeah, that one.
All right.
So that was our best uniforms for the time, and we used to go through Checkpoint Charlie, and the only way I can really describe what it was like going from a colour film to a black and white film. As soon as you got into East Berlin, the whole place was grey.
Yeah.
Everybody looked grey. The whole place looked grey. Different shades of grey. It just looked like a black and white film.
Yeah.
And we were the only splash of colour that was driving round. And when we used to go through there, we used to pick up a tail. And we usually get a Russian tail or an East German tail. And they'd just follow us around all day. And then there were a few points of places that we had to go and visit. There was the Tomb of the Unknown Warrior or the Russian War Memorial. We used to have to go and pay our respects to that, give them one of them. There was a museum that we used to go and stop at, military museum, and that was quite interesting. So you sort of leave 2 people in the car and 2 people to go and have a wander around this museum. 2 people to get out of their car, follow us about. It's quite amusing. And then there was, of course, the British military train, and that was a brilliant duty. That meant you started early in the morning in Charlottenburg, and you go down through Potsdam, and you go down to Brunswick, and you get a big old fry-up breakfast on the way down there, and you stop at, and they get out and they do the bit with all the passports at the border crossing, and there's chains on the door, so they can't get in or you can't get out, one of the two. And then as you're driving down or going down through what was East Germany, it was like a Pullman opulence. And then you get to the other end and you go through the same rigmarole. It usually takes sort of 3/4 an hour to go through each end, and then you get about 4 hours in Brunswick before doing the return journey. And on the return journey, you get a dinner on the train, and it's great fun.
Yeah.
Now, little story. My mum come over. Okay, she came over for a couple of weeks, stopping in Berlin. So we took her on the military train down to Brunswick, just because we could. And you get a brief up. You're not allowed to sort of move around the carriages when you stop and doing the border crossings. So just before we got to the first crossing at Potsdam, my mum pops off to the loo. We pulls into the station. We pulls out the station. An hour later, she comes toddling back from the toilet. Spent an hour sat in the car seat.
Well, you know, I mean, at least she proved that she can make it through without being checked, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was quite funny.
So, Ireland, that was a civil war, right?
Yeah. Insurgency. It went on for 30 years.
Yeah.
I mean, there's 2 ways of looking at it from a British perspective, from a soldier point of view. For us, it was a brilliant training ground, because you was actually operationally doing what you've trained to do. You're wandering around the streets with live ammunition.
Yeah.
quite often were one up the spout, depending on the situation. Depends on where you were. I did a couple of other tours. So the first one was Belfast. Second one, we spent 2 years in Londonderry. Londonderry, we spent lots of time doing border checks and stuff like that. So you're out in the Ulu, out in the sticks. Then I did another tour in Crossmaglen, which is down on the border in South Armagh, which was all rural, what's naming. So you've got lots of opportunities to do real life operations that you train for. So that's what makes the British Army probably the best army in the world, because we had that going on for 30 odd years.
Yeah.
And so I was in Northern Ireland. We were in Londonderry when the Falklands kicked off. So during that period, although they were having a lot of fun down in the Falklands, on their cruising down there and cruising back, we was having a pretty rough time up in Londonderry, or across the whole province really. There was lots of stuff kicking off because old Paddy wasn't happy that the British Army was getting lots of attention in the press and everything. All these heroes and everything taking back the Falklands. Yeah. So that was fun.
I mean, it is unfortunate that that you have to deal with stuff like that, but it is, like you said, it is an opportunity to gain those experiences, because that was one thing that America had that problem with, was everybody was gone. We had Vietnam, and then we had no real experiences between then and the Gulf War.
Yeah.
So even training guys, the people training our troops were no longer combat experienced veterans. They had all retired. They were gone.
It does make a big difference.
So
we had that going on for 30 odd years in Northern Ireland, from I guess 68 it started. It's kind of finished up. When was the last? I think it was 2000, or was it 98? Yeah, I think it was 98 that they somewhere around about the Good Friday Agreement, and it kind of, but we've still got troops out there, but they're not patrolling the streets. They're not doing what they used to do. So it's yeah. All the terrorist activity that they used to do out there has now been returned as criminal activity. So the police generally deal with it. Northern Ireland's a funny old one, but I mean the Falklands gave us some experience of proper war fighting, and then say 1990 came along, and we got involved with the first Gulf War. And that was some good training. Proper putting into practice what you spend all your time training for. And then we go into the 90s, where the Balkans kicked off, and later on Sierra Leone. So yeah, we were building experience, and we've got guys that were building experience.
Yeah, Syria and that whole area over there has just been a shithole for years.
It ain't going to change.
No, it's not.
Ain't going to change anytime soon, is it? Let's face it.
I mean, you look at how far back you can go, and how many countries has been in and out of Afghanistan fighting there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Alexander the Great, he got his ass kicked as well.
Yep.
So the Afghans. Now, Afghanistan. I'll just cover a little bit before that. So in 1998, I got recruited onto 15 UK Psychological Operations Group. And I became a purveyor of propaganda, lies and deception. So I got recruited on there. I joined the group on the 1st of June in 1999. The CO at the time, he said to me, would you be prepared to be deployed at any time? Yeah, no problem at all. I don't have a problem with that. Anyway, November 1999, I found myself going to Kosovo.
Yeah.
So I spent a year in Kosovo. I did 2 tours. I did what we call Agricola 2 and 3. So I went in after the initial scrap to get in there. And my job was at that time working in the psychological support element, the PSE, for the brigade headquarters. And that's where I cut my teeth. That's where I learned the trade. So before I got there, I knew I was going. So I did a lot of reading up about the Serbs, a lot of reading up about the ethnic Albanians that was in Kosovo, and a lot of reading up of what had gone on there. So when I got in there and hit the ground, I had a good understanding of the mentality of the people there. And every day I was there, I was learning more. We had 4 interpreters work for us, and I was always talking to the interpreters, learning as much as I could about the psyche of the population. I spent a lot of time going around the different battle groups that were there. I went to the Swedish battle group. I did a lot of work with the Swedish battle group down in a place called Grazanica, which was just to the south of Pristina. I was based out of Pristina. They were down in Grazanica. Grazanica was a Serb enclave. And what their main task was to keep the Serb population fairly safe. There was a couple of other Serb enclaves at places like Kosovo, Polje and that, where they were able to go between each other. So we were providing safe routes. And also they were able to come down to Pristina, do shopping. So that was one part of what we were doing. Then I was working with the Norwegian battalion, the Finnish battalion. Did a lot of work with the Americans down in Bondsteel and over in Jelani. I did some work with the Spanish up in Istok. I did some work with the Italians over in Pech, and I did some work with the French up in Mitrovica. Is it Mitrovica? Yeah, Mitrovica. So I got to go all over Kosovo, which was really good. It gave me a good understanding of the country, a good understanding of the population, because
Now,
everything that we were doing was directed at the local population.
so Kosovo, terrain-wise, it was similar to Bosnia, but the people-wise was a little bit different. If I'm not mistaken, I've never been to Kosovo, but
a lot different from Bosnians.
yeah,
Serbs. I mean, the Serbs are similar to Bosnians, but the ethnic Albanians are different barrel of monkeys altogether.
right,
Totally different ball game. They're more akin to Albanians.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's a fairly poor country. I mean, we poured millions in there. Yeah, we poured a lot of money into Kosovo in that year I was there.
Yeah, I think as far as a fighting force, the Albanians are a pretty tough group. Is not as far as having a great army, but as far as a fighter,
Yeah,
individual fighter, they're pretty strong.
yeah. I mean, I think halfway through my first tour, the the media ops team. So we were part of the PSYOPS team, and we had our own vehicle and stuff like that. That I was able to utilise, get, because we were going down. From where we were in the university building, which was the headquarters of the British brigade. We were going down into the centre of Skopje, centre of Pristina, because we had another group down there. It was where the UNMIC were. It was the OCE. I can't remember. Anyway, we also had the radio station down there, so we were going backwards and forwards with stuff at the radio station, stuff like that. So I got pretty much a free hand to do, sort of run around, basically.
Yeah.
Halfway through, maybe three quarters of the way through my first tour, the media ops team had their driver that used to take them out. What happens is the media ops team, if there was an incident that went off, they would ring up journalists. They would have a driver that take them out in a secure fit Land Rover with secret comms on, to be able to liaise with the troops on the ground and the journalists, and they would be the link between the two. Their driver got extracted on a compassionate case. There was nobody else that could drive their Land Rover with a secure fit apart from me. so I got dicked quite often to go out with a media ops team to incidents, and I went out to a couple of the mass graves that they found.
Mm-hmm.
That was quite harrowing. So we would be the link on the ground. The funny part about it is there was a couple of the journalists. There was one guy from the Telegraph, the Daily Telegraph here in England, and a couple of others that knew that I was a PSYOPS operator working with the media ops team. So a purveyor of propaganda, lies, and deception was conversing with journalists. Right. Yeah, you couldn't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
So when I came out of Kosovo, you got back into doing some sort of training, and I did a lot more training once I got back into back to Chicksands, where we were based, and I was on an exercise. It was called the Joint Maritime Course up at Faslane in Glasgow, just outside Glasgow. Now, we support another exercise at the Staff College, and I thought it was one of those. So we've gone up there, and we got briefed up on this exercise. And the Joint Maritime Course is massive. They've got like two carrier groups, one, the British one on the Illustrious, coming up the the west side of the country, and then we've got an American one coming up on the west side of the country, and they've got, I forget which aircraft carrier it was. It was a big one, and all the entourage that goes with that. There's special forces coming, there's jets coming in, there's all sorts of stuff coming in on this particular exercise. So the second week we were due to go out on Illustrious to operate off of the carrier. So the first week we were in the maritime ops room in with the SF spell, the Special Forces cell. So seeing what was going on, and we were producing some radio stuff, broadcasting to to the islanders, letting them know what was going on, stuff like that. This is at the same time that Macedonia was starting to rear its ugly head.
I remember Macedonia. I
So,
about it.
so that weekend, we were due to go off, get flown out onto the aircraft carrier Illustrious. Instead, we had to drive back down to Chicksands. We got extracted over the weekend from this course, this exercise. Monday morning, we had a brief. Tuesday morning, we went down into London to the Ministry of Defence, and we got another briefing down there, a secret briefing about what was going on in Macedonia. And we were supposed to fly out on the Wednesday to Skopje. We ended up flying out, I think it was about a week and a half later to Skopje. We got set up out there 3 weeks before the Blair Assault Brigade came in, 16 Blair Assault Brigade. So we were there before them. So we were force enablers. We were setting the ground for the paras and that coming in to do the weapons collection. It was only a 90-day op.
Yeah.
So we were in there a few weeks beforehand, getting the ground ready. This particular day, they gave us this little Daewoo Mets. I mean, tiny little thing.
Yeah.
And you imagine putting 4 big blokes into this thing, driving along, and you switch the aircon on, and the thing would die. So you had to switch the aircon off and open the windows. So we sat outside Camp Able Sentry. We called it Anal Entry. It's American camp in Skopje. And the guys had gone into the PX to do a bit of shopping. I'm sat out listening to the radio, and they stopped the broadcast and said that there's something had gone on in New York. So I grabbed the guys, went back to the ops room where we got some big tellies and that. We got back and saw the second jet going to the Twin Towers. 5 months later, I found myself in Kabul.
Yeah.
How did I get there? Now, flying into Kabul, that first flight, we've flown over on a C-17, the old Globemaster.
Yep.
And they come round and they said, right, you need to pull your body armour on and everything like that. We're going to do a tactical landing at night. So all the lights go off on the aircraft, and this thing's been thrown around the sky.
Yep.
And it's coming in, bang, it's hit the deck as it's come to a stop. Back doors are open. This is January, mind. It's freezing cold.
Yep.
Kabul is freezing, and they've opened the back doors on this thing, and it's pitch black. You could barely see anything. Anyway, it's come to a stop, and there's little lights leading us off the aircraft into these tents, and we're getting a briefing. This is the middle of the night, and this guy's giving us a briefing on everything that can bite and eat you and can kill you, and one thing and another. Oh, by the way, don't step off the hard standing. We haven't cleared the mines yet.
Yep.
Anyway, they slung us on the back of this Italian truck, and it's driven us through the streets of Kabul in the middle of the night, and there's nobody about. There's odd groups of soldiers with these oil drum fires stood on corners and things like that, the Mujahideen types. They've taken us off to the university building where we were stopping, where the ISAF headquarters was going to be. Got greeted there, got stuck into this tent, right? A 9x9 tent, I think it was. No, 12x12 tent. Freezing cold. We were gibbering like idiots. Middle of the night. Sun comes up in the morning. Whole different light on the place. And I spent 6 months in Kabul.
So you were there
having an absolute Wonderful time.
Yeah. So you were there when Operation Red Wing started in, because that was March of 02.
Yeah, we called it Jacana,
Yeah.
Op Jacana for us.
Yep.
And yeah, so we were based at headquarters ISAF, which was just down the road from the American Embassy, just across the road from Radio Television Afghanistan. That was they got up and running while we were there. I did a little bit of work with them as well. And just over behind where we were, there was the academy, the military academy. There's a big field there, and we used to sit on the wall and watch them playing Bushkazi.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever seen that, but it's done on horses, and they use a goat, they're throwing a goat around and one thing and another. Yeah, so that was good fun. Again, I had a fairly free hand to do stuff. We came up with this concept of the ISAF News, and it was a tri-language newspaper in English, Pashto, and Dari, which is the three languages there. And it was all good news stories about what we were doing. So I was able to go out and do interviews with people, get stories to put in this thing. And I had the opportunity to interview Ashraf Ghani, who later became the president. He was at the time he was the finance minister. Hamid Karzai, I did him. I did the minister of the Hajj, and they had the big lawyer Jurga, which was the Germans built this massive, great big tent, and they got people from all over the country, and it was like a big convention, for want of a different word, and I was able to interview some people there. Now there was a woman that got up on the stage and spoke. I mean, I don't speak Pashto at all, but she came across as really, really passionate and all the rest of it. And I was able to have a chat with her afterwards, and I did a bit of a piece on her. And she had come up from a place called Lashkar down in Helmand, and I'll tell you a bit about her in a second. So most of the time, I was able to go out on the ground, just me and an interpreter, and anywhere around where we were, no problem at all. If we were going anywhere outside the city, then I'd need to get an escort. And generally at that time, we had the Italians that were guarding the place and doing escort duties. We also worked with the Germans. We worked with the Americans. They were just outside of town on the Jalalabad Road. So, yeah, I had a good time there. Then when I went back in 2006, I'd done a Iraq tour after that, but when I came out, we handed over to the Turks. So the Turks took over HQ ISAF. We handed over loads of stuff to them, loads of kit and all the rest of it, and this newspaper, which had grown by then. We were producing 50,000 copies a fortnight. Got local printers doing the what's the name of it. Went out as a broadsheet. When I went back in 2005-06, I was really impressed that the newspaper was still going out, still in the same format that we'd put together back in 2001, 2002, and it had gone colour, and it was gone across the whole country.
That's awesome.
Albeit a bit sporadic, but yeah, it was pushed out across the country. By this time in 2006, my Iraq tour was shit. I nearly didn't come back from there a few times. But in 2006, I was in Kabul, in Lashkar, in Helmand province, and one of the this woman that I'd interviewed back in 2002 was working at the Women's Centre just down the road from where we were. And I spent probably 3 months trying to get her to come and do some work on the radio, because I was gone across on my main responsibility was for the radio in a box, which is commercial radio. So instead of pushing out a newspaper, we were pushing out radio. So we did a lot of recording and stuff like that. So we were coming up with this thing called, we called it the Afghan Archers. So over here, there's a radio program that's been going for must be 70 years now, called the Archers, and it's about a farming community, local rural community. So we came up with that sort of idea, and we would write scripts around what had been going on recently in the area and the markets and stuff. Anyway, convinced this lady to come and do some recording. She got some other ladies. We wrote a script for them, and we recorded it. And that went out. And then we did another one, and that went out. And that went down a storm, but down really well. And then I came out. I left Afghanistan in the middle of 2006, back to Six Hands. And then I went back again in 2008-9, and that's another tour.
Was the paper and all that stuff still going on?
The paper was still going on, but that was run by NATO up in Kabul, and it kind of, I don't know whether it fizzled out or it didn't fizzle out. It got taken over by the locals, and that they were running with it. Okay. They changed the name, but the layout was still pretty much the same as what we did. And it was still going out in the same three languages.
I think about that time frame is NATO really did kind of take a big hold, because Kandahar became a really big NATO area. Because last time I went to Kandahar, I didn't even recognize it. It really looked like nobody even wanted to take charge, and like everybody had their own little area.
Don't. I had one experience of Kandahar. There was a support element, site support element in Kandahar that had a big Ricoh printer that was able to do printing. And in 2006, we were mounting operations in a place called Musakala and a few other places, and we were doing leaflet drops. Now, I've been out in the field for about a week. I've got my beard on. I'll show you some pictures shortly, but I've got a beard on, and I mean, imagine being out in the field in Afghanistan, filthy, stinking, dirty. I've got this helicopter that's picked me up, flown me to Kandahar, dropped me at what's name is waiting there for me. I've had to walk through Kandahar to these guys to pick up this couple of boxes of leaflets to go and drop out of this helicopter. So as I'm walking through, there's this shout, "Oi, you!" I carried on, "Oi, you, yeah, you!" I've got full battle rig on. I mean, I'm stinking, I'm filthy dirty. I've got my helmet slung down my side. I ain't got a lid on. There's this RAF station warrant officer is shouting at me. So I've wandered over. He says, "Where's your hat?" "Pardon?" "What? Where's your hat?" "I ain't got it." "I'm on business. I'm in a hurry. What do you want?" To this station warrant officer. He's starting to go sort of steam coming about his ears. I said, "Look, I'm on an operation. I've got to pick up some urgent equipment to go and kick out of an helicopter. Now, what do you want?" "Fuck off," he says.
He told you to fuck off.
I think it must have been the aroma that was coming off of me, because I was stinking. Anyway, I've got to the support element, found the guys. Oh, sorry, if we'd known when to come and pick you up in the car in the pickup. So anyway, they took us back up there to these boxes and off we flew and then kicked them out of this helicopter.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about Bagram, man. You know, Bagram.
Yeah.
You know, we just walked down that main street like this.
Yeah, none of that. None of that where I was. You do that, somebody's going to get shot.
I mean, that's our policy too. And
Yeah.
yet, when you're on Bagram, they make you salute, and it's like, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, did you want to see some pictures?
Absolutely.
Here we go then. Let's give you some pictures. Oh, this is my studio, by the way. This is where I operate from.
That's where all the magic happens.
This is where it happens. And I'll tell you a bit about what I do nowadays towards the end.
Okay.
But here we go. Look, here's some pictures. So the top left picture there is me in Kabul in 2002, working on the ISAF news. The picture underneath in all red, that, believe it or not, is in Camp Victory in Iraq. Now, what happened there was we've flown up there for this conference. We landed in Camp Victory from Basra. The guys met us and we were going down into the green zone for a conference. So we were in a pickup truck. We were 2 pickup trucks, tatty looking things. As we're coming to go out the gate at Victory, there was a Humvee, a pickup truck, pushed their way in front of us. Off they went. We went off about, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute behind them. Halfway into Baghdad, boom, they got blown up. As far as I could tell, there was at least 2 dead and about 4 seriously injured. We came along, helicopter came down, we got ushered on, carried on to the green zone. We went to the green zone, by which time we were held up outside because they're panicking like mad about us going in. Absolute bloody nightmare. So that was the first time they tried to kill me on that trip. Later that day, we came back to Camp Victory without incident, fortunately. That evening, we sat on top of this hooch. They put us up in this single building, but we were able to go up on the roof. We got one of these pot fire things going, and we were having a few near beers and just chewing the fat. All of a sudden, a burst of about 25, 30 5.0 rounds came over our heads, tracers the lot, shot straight past us and killed a guy on the cemetery. I thought, that's damned unfriendly. And then the following day, we were due to fly out. There's a sandstorm. Guy behind us waving, so come on, hurry up. You need to take off. So we're busy doing the old what do you call it, military tourism bit. Anyway, we jumped on this Herc. We took off, and the pilot said, "That's lucky. They've just shut the airport." We would have been stuck there for about a week, I think. So we managed to just get out. The picture in the middle at the bottom is I was out on a patrol. Notice I've got a full beard on back in those days. That was good fun. The top picture with that big stick, a big lump in the middle, that's a radio in a box. Okay. That's at Kajaki. Now, when I got up to Kajaki, right at the far end was an observation post where this radio in a box was just sat there gathering dust. So I moved it from that end to the other end of this ridge, which is about 3 kilometres or so. And I had another guy help us, and we Sherpa'd it. We had to carry the bloody thing. It's quite heavy. And then I set it up, and we were broadcasting. The picture to the bottom right, is my younger days as a young soldier, and that thing covered up behind me is what we call a Wombat. It's a 120mm anti-tank gun that fires a Hesh round, a high explosive squash head. Brilliant bit of kit, and that was on a concentration down in Sennerlager in Germany. And the top picture on the right is me with my granddaughter a few years back at Horse Guards in London, and I was working, and my job was to look after the minor royals on that day. And my granddaughter came up, and she had a fantastic day out.
That's awesome.
This next lot of pictures. This is the work I did in London. The picture on the left there is me getting presented to the at that time the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, and just happened to take that picture as the bus went past. Have a nice day. That was the opening of the Field of Remembrance before the Remembrance Weekend. The top centre picture, I got a Emeritus Service Award from the General Officer Commanding of London District for some of the work that I did there. The bottom one is I'm just getting ready to mount guard. In fact, I think that one was a Remembrance Day parade, and my job on that was to release London Transport from St Anne's Gate to make sure that they went behind the right band, because there's 4 bands that go out on Remembrance Parade, and I make sure that they go out in the right band. And then I'm going to have breakfast, and then when they come marching back from Whitehall round onto Horse Guards approach, then I'm on the corner trying to keep some sort of semblance of order where the old boys are marching, and it's a nightmare. And the picture on the right is that's the Wellington room in Horse Guards, and we were collecting for the Poppy Appeal coming up to Remembrance. This next batch of pictures is some of the the sports I've done. So back in the early days, I used to be a hang glider pilot and hang gliding instructor, and that was my hang glider. It was a Highway Excalibur, really fast hang glider for the time. I had a great time with that. The picture in the middle is on my I had a Ducati 749S that I used to take to track days, and that's at Brands Hatch. Then the top right is I'm a telemark skier. So I telemark skied for about 40 years, and competed as well at the British Telemark Championships, and I skied for the Army. The bottom right is I've done a lot of sailing. That particular picture was taken on the Guards yacht coming round the south of Copenhagen, round Sealand. Then the little picture there is my little old Lotus Elise. Sold it a little while ago, but I used to take that to track days as well. Done a lot of hill walking over the years. And the middle picture on the bottom left is me playing a bit of rugby. I played rugby from school until I was 56. I played my last game when I was 56.
Wow.
I was hoping to play till I was 60, but I ended up being broken.
It's a tough sport.
It's a fun sport. I played American football as well for a couple of years, and that was fun, but nowhere near as much fun as rugby.
Yeah.
This next little group, I do like to dress up. So the top left picture is that was at the Holiday Inn in Skopje, and it was a NATO briefing, and we got in there before they actually did the briefing, and I was doing some mucking about. The bottom left did a bit of cross dressing. I've got great legs, by the way. The one up in the centre right, we had a fancy dress night in the mess. The one in the middle on the left, when I was just about 3, I fought a brown bear, a big old grizzly bear, a mean old grizzly bear, a bit like Davy Crockett. And the centre one on the left is in Norway. Apparently, you have to do 30 mile an hour to do farts. And the one on the right is I'm all dressed up to go to a Burns night. Got my tam o' shanter and my sporran. And I think that's it for the pictures. Yeah. So, so there you go. Man of action.
Yeah. You know, those are the good times, you know, the family times and the good memories, you know. That's
Yeah.
the stuff that we carry with us.
I mean, I've been around for an awful long time, and I've had some fantastic times. I've had some shit ones as well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's
Absolutely.
been a few downs, and
Yep.
yeah.
You know, that's what I always tell everybody, you know, the American Army recruiters, that they tell you that you're going to see the world. They just leave out the part it's going to be the third world. And
and you're gonna have to sweep it up.
you're going to have to sweep it up and get rid of the rats and everything else. But with that, you know, the places that you do get to go with your family, you know,
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of history, a lot of castles that I got to take my kids and my wife to and see, and those are memories that we'll have forever.
Yeah.
That I would have never gotten to do if it wasn't for the military. So if it wasn't for, you know, the bad, you're not going to have the good as well. You got to have both.
Oh
You
yeah.
can't have one. So
Yeah. If you can have more good than bad, then you're not doing so bad.
yep,
I mean, I've had an awesome career over the years. I've done some amazing stuff. I've done an awful lot of stuff I can't talk about,
yep,
and I've done an awful lot of stuff I can.
yep,
I've had some rough times. I mean, I've had some pretty dark, dire times,
yeah,
but you come through them.
yeah,
I mean, I've lost 2 best mates, and that has been really tough. I lost a wife. They'll get a load of this. With her for 25 years, married for 23 years. She got cancer the first time, managed to get over that. They said if you clear for 2 years, you'll be fine. A year and 11 months, it came back a lot more aggressive the second time. And she went and died on me, left me alone.
mm.
Who'd you get in touch with? The year before and a day before, the year before and a day, my best mate died.
Mm.
5
Yeah.
years later, I married his wife.
Well, I mean, you're looking after her and making sure that
Yeah.
everything's good.
Well, we'd known each other for, I don't know, 20 odd years. I mean, it's funny the way it worked. He was best mates with my wife's first husband.
Hmm.
He was killed flying hang gliders, and I met him through hang gliding. So when I learned to hang glide and all the rest of it, he was the training officer for the British Hang Gliding Association, and I was on my instructor's course when I met him. And we became sort of mates and became best mates, and we did so much together over those sort of 30 years that we were best mates. And then he died. Well, he's worse than that. He took his own life. And that is really tough to deal with.
Yeah,
but
I can relate to
I mean, veterans and suicide go hand in hand, unfortunately, and it's needless quite often. There's so much that can be done, and you've only got to reach out. So, any veterans out there that have dark times, there is light. There is always an ear that'll listen and take the piss.
And I'm glad you said that, because for the listeners that see it's not just an American veteran issue or anything. This is soldiers from around the world. It's not one particular war. It's war.
It doesn't have to be war to
No, it doesn't.
suffer traumatic stuff.
But I'm saying it. What I'm getting at is it's not just us here. It's not just your individual. It's everybody. This is a natural problem that we need to talk about, and you're not alone feeling this way. So this isn't an American problem, a male problem, or a female problem. This is a human problem, and absolutely, it's not just a veteran problem. I know a lot of civilians that are going through these problems. I don't know how some of the paramedics and police officers that see some of these car accidents and children day in and day out.
Yeah, it's something that it needs talking about.
It does,
and it needs talking about because so many people, in fact, just about everybody you can imagine, has your dark day. Everybody has had some sort of traumatic incident in their lives. Lots and lots and lots of people have childhood traumas they carried with them all their lives.
Yeah.
And they don't deal with it.
Yep.
And it's I think one of the things that we try and push it, that it's okay not to be okay.
Yep.
It's okay to say, I'm struggling. And there's always somebody that will give you that ear. Sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Just for somebody to sit there and doesn't need to say anything, they just need to listen.
Yep. I completely agree. For me, it was podcasting, and I discovered it completely by accident. We started this podcast. It was me and my old first sergeant, and it turned out to be therapy. It got me talking about things that I hadn't never been talking about. And by the end of season 1, I realized that I was starting to open up about things. Not that it was still easy to talk about, but I was at the beginning stages of talking. And once you start having that conversation, each time you're able to go a little bit further and a little bit further and a little bit further. And that's kind of where, the nonprofit that I'm building has came from, is to get other veterans to start that process. And then once you realize, hey, I can talk about this, you'll find a group therapy or something, or someone that you feel comfortable talking to. And next thing you know, you'll be on that path to helping yourself,
Absolutely. Well, that's kind of how I sort of fell into podcasting. Going back, I guess 2017, 18, I was just retiring from the army. I was working on ancestry. I got my DNA done, and it's quite interesting what came out of that. I'm 50. Just trying to remember the figures. I'm 52% English, 38% Scottish. Don't know where that came from. Maybe it's because I like to wear a skirt occasionally. I've got 9% Swedish, 3% Norwegian, 1% Danish, and keep this one quiet, 2% Welsh. Don't know where that's come from at all. Don't know where the Welsh is snuck in there.
I'll edit that part out for you.
Yeah, thanks. So anyway, so I'm working on Ancestry, and I found my great granddad,
Mhm.
and he was a chief stoker in the Royal Navy, and he lived about 3 miles from where I live now. So I live over in a place called Gosport.
Mhm.
He lived over in Portsmouth. He was a chief stoker in the Royal Navy. He died back in 1930, so he came through the Second World War and stuff like that. And my granddad, he also came through the First World War. He had a bone replaced in his left arm. Had a titanium one put in there or something like that. So he was injured in the Dardanelles in Turkey during the First World War. So I found that out, and I thought it'd be brilliant if I could go back and have a chat with him. Unfortunately, I ain't got a time machine, so I can't.
Yeah.
We got into lockdown, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, well, if I don't tell my story, that's going to be lost like theirs.
Yep.
So what I did, I started a podcast, and it's Audible, and I did 20 half-an-hour episodes of my life. So if there's any of your listeners out there that are suffering from insomnia and they want something to put them to sleep, they can have a listen to that. I got to the end of that, and I thought, what do I do now? Well, I did another couple of episodes of in-depth stuff that I'd done. And I thought, what do I do now? Why don't I try other people? So I got hold of my mother, and I got her story, and it's kind of snowballed from there. So I got up to about 40 odd episodes, and I started to struggle at cajoling and beating people up and dragging them in, kicking and screaming to tell their stories, which is when I got into Podmatch.
Yep.
Podmatch has been awesome for me.
I agree.
And then I started doing it on video as well. So I record it like this in video. I strip off the audio, put that on as a podcast, and put up the video as a video on YouTube. I've lost count. I've done 218 interviews through Podmatch, plus all the ones I did before that. Yeah, I've done a lot.
Yeah.
I put up one episode a week on a Sunday of ordinary people's extraordinary stories. So that's been running for the last 3 years, and there's a lot of people to go and have a listen to, and there's some really fascinating people. Then I do a live show on a Thursday evening. That it started off. We called it Thursday. In the British Army, on a Thursday, we call it Thirsty Thursday. So Thursday evening, everybody goes out on the piss on a Thursday evening. Friday morning, you're hungover like it's no tomorrow. CO's PT, Commanding Officers PT on a Friday morning. Everybody's out for a run and everything. The CO's there. You can't miss that parade. But you've been on the piss all night.
Yep.
And the idea of CO's PT on a Friday morning is clear the hangovers before you scarper at lunchtime. You go on any military base in the UK on a weekend, it's dead. Everybody's scarping at lunchtime on a Friday, and they're back Sunday night or Monday morning.
Yeah.
I lost my track. Where do I get to? Yeah. So that was that. So now I got into this Thursday malarkey. And I got friends in, and we sat up on a StreamYard, and we'll just have a chat about different stuff, and lots of mental health came into it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's evolved now into what I call everyday conversations regarding mental health. And I'll get a guest on each week, and we'll have a chat about different aspects of mental health, whether it's bereavement, whether it's suicide, whether it's addictions, whether it's trauma. We'll talk about any subject around that, the mental well-being, and we're trying to take the stigma out of mental well-being. It's okay to talk about it nowadays.
Yeah.
It's okay for people to say, I'm not okay, I need a little bit of help. And all we're trying to do is to help at least one person, to stop one person taking their own life, or to help one person at a time to seek help. And that's been going now for year and a half, something like that.
That's awesome.
Sometimes it's difficult to get somebody on. Sometimes it's just me.
I can absolutely relate. So we're going on season 3. January we'll start season 3 for us. And season 1 we knew absolutely nothing about podcasting. So yeah, we sounded like idiots. And by the end of season 1, we were starting to figure it out. And by the end of season 2, I think we're slowly catching the hang of it. And hopefully season 3 will be even better,
Yeah, I mean, it's always a work in progress. There's always something you can do different.
Yep.
I mean, I was doing everything in StreamYard. I had a green screen behind me, and I just used the camera that was on the iMac.
Mm-hmm.
I've got an M1 iMac, brilliant camera on that, green screen, and I've got some great stuff behind me. I've now evolved where I use Ecamm Live,
Mm-hmm.
and I use Sony ZV-1 cameras. Here's my other camera. Look,
Yep.
So I can do lots and lots of different stuff with what I've got, and I use a Rodecaster Pro. I've got a Rode NTG2 mic, which is a brilliant mic for the studio. I also use when I go out and about. I've got the Rode Wireless Go mics. And I'll put other stuff up as well. I've just done a battlefield study tour in France and Spain. I went down on my motorbike. So I did about the motorbike journey, going across on the ferry, driving down through France, and going on some of the classic roads through into Spain. I did Oridor-sur-Glane, which was a village that the German SS Des Reich Panzer Battalion went into, rounded everybody up, and massacred 642 people, and then razed the village to the ground. So wow. I've done a piece on that, and that's up on YouTube now. When I got down into Spain, I went to 2 different battlefield sites from the Peninsular Wars. I did Talavera, and that released this morning. Now, Talavera is a battle honour from my regiment, from the 48th Foot, which was the Northampton Regiment. So they fought, saved the day at Talavera. So the actual battlefield site, well, as far as I can work out, has now been built on, and there's a road going through there, motorway going through there, and industrial area. So the battlefield's gone. But I was able to do some bits and pieces up in the town itself. There's a church there that was there at the time, so I did that. And I went off to another place, Salamanca, where our 44th Foot, which later became the Essex Regiment, which later became my regiment, the Royal Anglia Regiment, and we took an Imperial Eagle, a gold Imperial Eagle, off the French 62nd Regiment, Infantry Regiment, and we still got it. and we still wear that eagle on our uniforms today. So it's an Imperial Eagle with a 62 underneath it. But we've still got the actual eagle that we captured at Salamanca. So, yeah. So I've done that. What else have I done? I've done a little bit of video around where I live, the Gosport, Portsmouth area. I've done where the carriers have come in and out and turned round and one thing and another. Done little videos on that. I did a piece on the Adventure Bike Riders Festival from last year and the year before. I've been twice on the bounce. The year before, I interviewed a few people there, and one of the people I interviewed was Carl Fogarty, who is a famous motorcycle racer. Nice bloke. So, yeah, I've done lots of different things. So I'm constantly creating content.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of started out season 1. It was all about veterans, and for me, season 2 has been kind of a growing side for me. I have expanded out into what I find interesting. It hasn't just been just veterans. I kind of relate this show to, and I'm sure you can relate to this. The conversations that you have while you're waiting in the Army. The ones that were before formation, before PT, the while you're in the field or while you're on guard duty. The hey man, what are you gonna do when you get back? Or hey, what would you do if you had $1 million? And so that's what this show's about. I find somebody that's interesting or they have a topic that I'm curious about. I reach out and try to have them on the show. And I just like having conversations. It doesn't matter to me if there's one person listening or 10,000 people listening. I enjoy learning and I enjoy the conversation, and I hope other people enjoy the content and find the stuff interesting as well. So
well, hopefully I haven't put too many people to sleep.
I don't think so. I've had a great time. I'm not gonna lie. Our countries, have done so much together. We've pounded the same sand in so many different locations, some of them even at different times, And, so we have so much in common, but yet, the Americans.
We're separated by a different language, that's for sure.
We are. We absolutely are.
I'm sure a lot of your listeners can't understand a word I've said.
Yeah, I'm sure. But I'm gonna be honest. A lot of times when I hear the American kids talk, I don't understand a lot of what they say. So
yeah.
But it's funny because I was just thinking about this when you were talking about the conflict and everything that was going on in Ireland, and I was thinking to myself, how many of my listeners that probably don't know anything about what had happened over there, about the conflict, because America wasn't really involved in any of that stuff.
No, not at all. Well,
we see it.
Joe Biden might have been.
I'm sure
he seems to think he's a Mick.
Yeah, he thinks he's a lot of things.
But it's quite funny. Northern Ireland started off in it's been going on since a long, long time ago. But the recent conflict that we got involved with was originally we went in to protect the Catholic population.
Hmm.
We were called in by the police. It was called Aid to the Civil Power. So that's the reason that we went in to help the police protect the Catholic population from the Protestants. Then they bit the hand that fed them, so the Catholics started on us, and the Protestants were the ones that were getting picked on, and that's how we ended up being stuck in there for 30 years. It's a bit like Bosnia and Kosovo, where we've gone in and we've been stuck in there for years.
Yep.
Now, I don't mind that sort of thing, because what it does, it keeps the military skills honed.
It does. You were absolutely right.
It's to keep the military involved in doing stuff.
Yep. And unfortunately, it also, the cost of that is people's lives. But you can't have, this is not something that you can just practice without that. You have to have that in order for these skills to be exercised, because this is combat speed is a whole nother thing. This is not like football or rugby where you can walk the plays and slowly work it up to combat speed. Combat speed means combat. So
I don't know whether you guys have found this in American forces, but during particularly the Afghan campaign, we were in there for 20 odd years. We were getting guys. I mean, recruiting wasn't the problem.
No,
we were getting guys signing up. They would do their training. They knew they were signing up to go to Afghanistan or Iraq, and they go off. They do the tour of duty. They come back. They go on a first exercise, get totally disillusioned, and leave. So, although you've gained some experience, when you get back, you lose that experience because the training isn't the same as it is on operations. These guys come in, they do their 4 years, and then they leave.
Yes. So we do have a lot of that. And I'm going to tell you, I don't know if it was just because of that, or the other thing too was people were signing up thinking they were going to fight a different type of war that they were picturing. So the one problem with Afghanistan was, we turned our major training areas, what we call NTC and JRTC, into train ups for where you're going. So if you were going to Iraq, you went to JRTC. If you were going to Afghanistan, you went to NTC. And the idea behind that was the unit that was coming through, you kind of told them what you experienced in the past, and then you went over and you were learning a time behind. So by the time you got over there, the TTPs have changed.
Stuff had changed. I mean, from my experience in 2005-06, when I got when I went out on patrols, it was being brassed up. It was a shooting war.
Mm-hmm.
The Taliban would stand and have a shooting war with us. When I went back in 8-9, it was IEDs.
Yeah.
Total different mindset.
Yep.
Totally different type of warfare altogether.
Yep.
And that carried on until the end. They kept changing the way that they operated. It became far more dangerous.
Yeah. Look at all the things that we had to do to vehicles because of
Yep.
things like fishing wire that was being ran across the roads that you couldn't see, and it was taking off gunners' heads. So we were having to put poles up
Yep.
to take out fishing wire, and you know, the jammers. That was actually kind of fun. I enjoyed going through the villages and the towns, and you'd see
Mm.
people talking on their cell phones, and we'd hit the jammers, and they'd be like,
Yeah.
"Huh? What?"
It's
But
amazing. I mean, a country like Afghanistan, you get a phone signal everywhere.
yeah, yeah, you're right. They do.
It's like some African countries.
Yeah.
You only they got nothing, but at least they got a phone and a phone signal.
Yeah, yeah, you are right. And the other thing you said too, I never really thought about it until you said it, but you are right. It used to be when the war first kicked off, the first, I say 5-6 years of the war, an IED went off, and then it was followed with some sort of ambush, a attack. There was somebody there firing at you. Um,
Yeah.
but after that, it was more like Iraq. It was an IED went off, and there was nobody there.
And there's multiple
Yeah,
IEDs as well. That was the big problem. It wasn't the first one. The first one might have got a couple of blokes, but it's the subsequent ones that were on the follow-ups that were getting hit as well.
yeah, they
So
were
you
they
get
were starting to put them in
multiple
places like
casualties.
they started putting them in places like roundabouts and stuff like that, and they would light one off, and then they would wait for the police and the paramedics and everything to get there, and they'd wait for the military to get there to
And
secure.
started a few more.
Yep, and then next thing you know, 2, 3, and 4 of them are going off. So yeah,
All in the RV areas.
yep,
Yeah. So these buggers watch what you do
yep,
and then target where you're going.
yeah,
I mean, it was trying to stay on top of it,
yeah,
and particularly when you've had a rip, you've got
yep,
new guys coming in.
yeah,
They if they either learn very, very quickly, or they spend a lot of time in hospital.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And
And I said that same thing. Right before I retired, my unit that I was in, that was the first time they ever went to Afghanistan. Up to that point, they had only been in Iraq.
yeah,
And I told them, I said, look, y'all are about to experience something that you've never seen before. It is different over there than it is Iraq.
yeah.
Not the same
Like,
thing. And
my tour of Iraq, I only did the one in 2003. I went in on what we call Telic 3. So
mhm,
it was I missed the war fighting stage because I'd just come out of Afghanistan. So I was on R&R retraining period. I missed Telic 2, and I went out on Telic 3. My role was to come up with a campaign to enhance the perception of the Iraqi police service in the eyes of the local population.
good luck on that.
I was on hiding to nowhere. The Iraqi police service had been corrupt for decades
Yep.
under Saddam Hussein. They were just, yeah. I had a good time, mind. I made the most of it.
Yep.
I did quite a bit of work with. I used to go out to a place called Samwa, where the Dutch were, and the Dutch were getting some Japanese. I think it was Japanese soldiers coming in, Japanese engineer soldiers. First time the Japanese have operated outside Japan since the Second World War. We had to put a campaign in to inform the local population what these Japanese soldiers were coming to do, and we had to keep them as safe as we possibly could. And they were going and doing a humanitarian project on I think a water plant and a school. So there was a massive operation to keep these Japanese safe, because the last thing we wanted is there a Japanese soldier to get killed in Iraq?
Yeah.
And I think it worked. I did a lot of work with the Italians in Nasiriyah, which is a little bit further south than that. It was on the way up to Baghdad. So
Yeah. Nasiriyah was another hot spot.
So Nasiriyah was brilliant because we used to work it that we'd go straight up to the Italians because the Dutch was a little bit too far to do in a day. So we stopped with the Italians overnight. Good food and wine.
Yep.
Following day, we go up, spend the day with the Dutch, getting ready for the Japanese and with the Japanese when they got there. And then in the afternoon, we come back down and spend another night with the Italians before coming back down to Basra.
Yeah, it sounds like good times.
But
You know, I don't know about you, but the only time I really didn't like the convoys is when you went through the Iraqi police checkpoints. It seemed like those were the most dangerous times, is when you were at those checkpoints, because, like you said, they were the most corrupt, man. They would, if you offered them enough money, they would set an IED for the next shift. You know.
well, we were okay. We had, if we were doing that job, we went into we had 2 GMC Envoys, sort of big V8 sort of pickup truck type things. We used to drive 120 mile an hour up the motorway.
Yeah.
And there was nothing on the motorway. I was doing 120 mile an hour, no problems at all. We weren't paying for the gas.
Yeah.
And then also used to go down to Qasr and down into Kuwait. We used to go down to Kuwait probably once a fortnight to take some printing down to get printed up down there, and then bring the printing back to get distributed around the different battle groups. But I went out to a place called Alamara. Now, we had to fly into Alamara because it was too dangerous to drive there. And I spent a few days up there, and I nearly didn't come back. It was a pretty dangerous place. We got into a bit of a scrap up there. Effects of like, oh, there you go. Yeah. So Alamara was a dodgy place, and we were in this village where I think it was the previous year or the previous rotation, 6 of our military police were killed in this village. And there was some guys that were based in this place. It had a really odd feeling about this whole town. And I went out on patrol with this with the police chief of the area and a few of his officers, and it was pretty bloody scary. I didn't like going up to Alamara at all. I didn't particularly like going into Basra city either. It was dodgy going in and out of there. But I didn't enjoy Iraq as much as I did Afghan.
I would agree. Even though Afghanistan was more dangerous, I would rather have been in Afghanistan than Iraq.
My last tour, 2008-9, was so much fun. Most of the time. I say most of the time. My job was to go around and install radio in a box. By installing it, a set of radio up in a box. It's a commercial radio station, 50-watt transmitter that broadcast FM radio to the local population. It wasn't just put the radio in it. I had to train up the interpreters to be DJs. I had to train up the guys that were looking after them how to be radio producers, to produce some radio shows and stuff like that. had to install the music on, show them how it all worked. They had to download jingles and messages off of the intranet to put onto the radio. So I had to teach them all of that. And I bounced around the whole of Helmand. 1 week I'll be up right in the north at Kajaki. The next week I'll be right down the south in Garmasia. I'll be in Sangin. I spent quite a lot of time in Sangin, right in the green zone. I spent quite a lot of time in patrol bases with guys. Did a little bit of a few patrols. I only went out about 4 times in the whole tour. But I was going to go out on one patrol, but I got extracted. Trying to get helicopters around to get anywhere was a nightmare. So I've been on this patrol base for about a week and a bit, working with a mate of mine who I'd skied with. We've been at the Telemark Championships the previous year. Working with him and his guys, got them all set up, got this thing running, and this particular patrol base used to get targeted quite a lot. And anytime there was incoming, people would don their body armor helmets, run to the north wall, jump on whatever gun was there, and start opening up.
Yeah.
So if there was a 50 cal free, you was onto that. If there was a Minimi, you jump on it, or a GPMG, or if you weren't quick enough, you just have to take your rifle. And some lucky bucker might occasionally jump on a javelin and be able to fire a javelin. Anyway, so this particular day we were all geared up to go out on this patrol, and I was going to go out on this patrol with them to do go and interview the local village elder. But I got a message. I had to fly out about half an hour before we were due to go out on this patrol. Sorry, I need to go. I had to go off and do another what's name. The guys went out on that patrol and they were killed. A whole section, whole fucking section was killed. I found out about 3 days later. Absolutely broke me.
Yeah,
absolutely broke me. I still feel really, really cut up about it to this day.
Yeah.
And I should have been on that patrol. Yeah, Tom Sawyer is his name. Lovely, lovely bloke. He died, but his guys, they were blown up basically on a patrol. But for the grace of God and all that malarkey, I'm still here.
Man, a half
But
hour.
I've lost so many blokes, so many mates over the years. It's just, I'd say I've had 2 best mates. One took his own life, say in 2005, the 11th of November 2005. My wife died the 10th of November 2006. November's always been a tough month for me and my wife, my current wife.
Yeah, I can understand.
But last year, best mate, we've known each other for, I don't know, 46 years we've known each other. We've been in the same platoon way back in Gillingham. Hottest day of the year, he's up on the roof of his house, washing off his solar panels. He's tripped, fallen down, hit the conservatory, hit her car, put a big dent in her car, and smacked onto the pavement. The fall didn't kill him; it was a stop at the bottom. Just across the road, there was paramedics sat having a break in an ambulance. They were on the scene within seconds. It's too late. He was already dead.
Yeah.
They worked on him for 3/4 an hour. Yeah, that was another tough one. Losing second best mate. You don't find best mates every day.
Yeah.
And guys that you've been through so much with, it's really difficult to lose them.
Yeah, and that's that's something that you just can't explain it to people that didn't serve. They don't understand the closeness that is formed. I like I tell people, you're closer than family. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah.
Blood doesn't mean anything at this point. You become to the point where look at somebody and just know he's not doing okay. You get to that ability, and it is tough because you build that bond, and then when you come back, whether it be because of orders or people getting out of the military, you drift apart as far as physically apart, not so much close. You may still talk on the phone, you may still talk Facebook, but we're all trained that you just suck it up and drive on, and when you call, you're happy to hear each other, so you just talk about the happy stuff and you bottle up the sad shit.
I'll tell you what I find really, really funny is we have a regimental gathering. We have 2 or 3 dues a year, but the main regimental gathering is done up at a place called Duxford in sort of just outside Cambridge every year, and it's where the regiment comes together. And it's our forebearer regiments as well, because we're made up of 9 county regiments, but all 7 battalions guys come together on this particular day. We have a drumhead service, and then we have, it's a picnic area and all the rest of it. And occasionally, more often than not, you'll bump into somebody you haven't seen for 20 or 30, 40 years. And the thing that I find amazing is that you can look into the face, the old face in front of you, you can see the young face
Yep.
behind that old face, and then you'll pick up on a conversation that you had 30 or 40 years ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
talking the same shit. And remembering some of the same incidents that you were involved in. And I think that for the veteran community, particularly for infantry types that come from infantry regiments that spend a lot of time together, that is so beneficial.
Yeah.
There's obviously 1 or 2 that you don't want to get mixed up with because they were twats back in the day. They haven't changed much, but generally, you most guys are all right types.
Yeah, it is funny because there's times, well, hell, just like before the show started, I couldn't remember the name of Bagram. There's times where
that's a hell of a dust hole, isn't it?
It is, and there's times that I'll be telling a story and I'll get halfway through it and I'll be like, oh shit, no, that wasn't Iraq, that was Afghanistan, or that wasn't Afghanistan, that was Iraq. But there'll be times that I can remember to the detail of conversations that I had with soldiers and just funny stories. I remember a bit that me and another staff sergeant did while we were at training. We were teasing a kid that was from Arkansas, and we were joking with him, and we told him that he was from Arkansas, not Arkansas. And we said, do you know how they named your state? And we did this bit about the Hatfields and the McCoys, and we said that the sheriff came in and we decided, the Hatfields said, look, you stay on your side of Kansas and we'll stay on our side of Arkansas. And that's how Arkansas was born. Yeah, and I still remember it to this day of this whole bit, and everybody in the bay was there, and they all had their phones out, was recording. I wish I had the video to this day because it was just absolutely hilarious. And he would get
Kansas.
yeah, he would get so mad because of us calling it Arkansas instead of Arkansas. But
Wasn't it Willie Nelson that's, or was it Chris Christopherson that sold about the or was it Wade and Jennings, the Hatfields and McCoys in the song?
I think it was Waylon Jennings. I think
Wade
it was
and Jennings.
Yeah.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys.
Yep. Yeah.
The Outlaws.
Yep. Yeah, it was but it is funny, you know. I spent 68 months deployed total out of my 20 years that I did, and I was in and out so much. You know, most of my deployments was done during with a special ops unit, so we would do 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, whatever. They were never long stints. So it was over and back, and I kept going so much. I get them mixed up on the years and the times and the locations and shit. And I'm just getting old too, so that doesn't help.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can still remember funny stories. I remember one day I was on duty sitting outside the barracks, and I seen this private come running out of the barracks and run into another barracks because all the barracks was in a row. And I'm watching, I'm like, what is he doing? He ran in one door, came running out the other door, and there was a guy chasing him. And it turned out it was an E7 chasing this private. And the reason he was chasing him is when he got home, he caught him with his daughter. So he was chasing him, trying to beat his ass. And I was on duty sitting there watching it going, what the hell? This private's fast too, man. He was in and out of like 3 different barracks. This E7's running, chasing him. You know, the things that you see is just hilarious. But,
yeah, I can probably recount a 1,000 funny incidents over the years.
Yeah,
You just have some funny things that go on. We did Gibraltar. We flew down to Gibraltar. We flew down in Hercules from England. We left here in the March, and it was bitterly bloody cold. So we've got combats on. We've got long johns on underneath. We've got thermals on. We've got big woolly jumpers, combat jackets, all our kit and everything like that. We're flying down in this hurt, taking forever. And as we're coming down into to land at Gibraltar, and when Gibraltar, there's a landing strip. You've got to come in over the sea to land on this little tiny strip. It started raining inside the Hercules, the C-130. So we're starting to get wet. And then, as it's landed, the back doors have opened, and all you see is this heat haze coming off of the tarmac. And as it's taxiing around, you can feel the heat coming to the back of this hook. And we're done up in winter gear. And the sergeant major's he's shouting, right, get all your kit together. So you got your packs on in your bags. We're gonna march off to the terminal. Yeah. So we've come off the back of this Hercules. We've got about 200 meters or so to go to the terminal. Sergeant major's got us all stood there by the right quick march. we ain't got 50 meters. There's blokes dropping like flies all over the place. And just before we got to the terminal itself, the sergeant major got down as well. Oh, you've never seen anything like it in your life. You're getting blokes all over the place. Trying to tag it. Oh dear. And then every day we were on Gibraltar, they made us bloody run up this sodding rock. And then some of us did what they call the convent guard, which is guarding the governor's house.
Mhm.
So you've got the governor's house on one side, you've got the guard room on the other side, and the road between the two, and you got tourists up and down the road all day long, taking pictures of the guy that's on the guard light. So we've got white tunics on and blue trousers for this particular ceremonial guard.
Mhm.
And then you've got the guys across the road in the guard room. When you get a crowd of tourists around you, they're like doing moons at you and doing all stupid things, trying to make you laugh for the cameras. You stood there and you're melting because it's so bloody hot.
You got people showing their ass and you can't laugh or anything, huh?
Yeah. Stood there being all serious. And to stop yourself laughing, you have to march up and down.
Yeah, I wouldn't make it. You know, I've only seen videos and stuff like that on TV, but there's no way I'd be able to keep that straight face the whole time. I
Yeah.
wouldn't do it.
But when I worked in London, I had the opportunity, although I wasn't a guard, I was a welfare officer for the guards. And having been in the job for about a year, really got the hang of what went on. And I was able to go and do senior sergeant on all the 4 different guards. So I did Buckingham Palace as senior sergeant. I did St James's Palace. I did the Tower of London, and I did Windsor Castle as senior sergeant, standing in for the sergeant because they were franked. I mean, this is from sort of 2000. I came back from Afghan in 2009 in the June, and then I started this job in London on the 1st of September 2009. By 2010, I'm starting to do in a few guards just to help the blokes out because we're sending fit guys to Afghanistan. We're getting broken guys back, and occasionally didn't have enough people to mount the guard. So I'd do a stand-in, and it was great for me because I was working with the lads, getting to know the lads and all the rest of it, being their welfare officer, looking after their welfare and all the rest of it.
Mm.
So I got to do the different guards. And then it came to stuff like the Queen's birthday parade and remembrance, the festival of remembrance, stuff like that. And I managed to worm my way into, particularly on the Queen's birthday parade. So the Queen's birthday parade, there was 3 parades over 3 weekends. You've got the Colonel's Review, the Major General's Review, and then the Queen's birthday parade. So the Colonel's Review is like a rehearsal, a full rehearsal. We got the public there and everything like that. And I managed to blag this job working on what they call the North Door. So guests of honour and that would come in through the North Door. They go up the stairs to the General's office that looks out over Horse Guards. This office, the General's office, used to be Wellington's office. So General Wellington, this was his office in Horse Guards. So I managed to blag this job, and on the actual Queen's birthday parade, we hand over that North Door to some of the other guys, and we'd go upstairs, and you've got this corridor, and they've got a bell tower that goes between the General's office one side and the Wellington room the other side, and our job was to stop people coming through, getting to the minor royals.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the likes of Kate, Camilla. I think one time we had Meghan there. We had Harry was up there. We had the Yorks, the Gloucesters, the Kents, the Wessexes. So all the minor royals, they would be in the General's office looking out over Horse Guards, while the Queen and the rest of them were downstairs doing the Queen's birthday parade, trooping the colour. So I managed to blag that job, and we did that every year. So we start the day off, we'd be downstairs. What we do, we get all the guys that were working the stands, so all the ushers, we call the roll for them. We work with the chief usher, so make sure that everybody knows what they're doing, where they've got to be, and etc. Then we go and check the north door and the stairs and all the rest of it, and the security piece on that. So we had a fantastic time working that.
That does sound like a good time.
Yeah, so I got to meet all the minor royals. Met the Queen on several occasions. So Duke of Edinburgh got presented to him a few times. He was a proper wag. He was. We were doing. They have a beating retreat. The 2 Thursdays before the Major Generals and the Queen's birthday parade. On the Thursday evening, they have mass bands doing something on Horse Guards. They call it beating the retreat. Queen's birthday one, the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh, they come and watch it from the General's office, or they come up there beforehand before they go downstairs and watch it from out there. So I'm on the stairs, and the Queen and Prince Philip are coming up the stairs. Prince Philip, he turns to me. What are you doing here, Colour? I said, I'm waiting for you to come up the stairs, sir. Make sure you don't fall over. He says, you funny sod. And then, did you see the picture where I showed you? Have a nice day.
Yep.
That's at the Field of Remembrance at Westminster Abbey, and that's on the Thursday before the Remembrance weekend. So my regiment gave me the honour of being presented. So generally, you've got people behind, you've got all the crosses and everything laid out. Every regiment and service in. So you've got the Royal Navy, you've got the Army and the Air Force, are all represented at the Field of Remembrance. So I got the honour from my regiment to stand in front of our regimental plot and be presented to the Duke of Edinburgh, and at that time it was Harry. So Duke of Edinburgh is coming along. I've thrown him one up. What are you doing here, Colour? Representing my regiment, sir. Very good, he says, and moved on. So what normally happened after the Field of Remembrance, the guys that come down from the regiment, we'll go across into the Farmers Club over just off of Whitehall, and have a bit of a lunch and a drink afterwards. Yeah, so I when I was in London, I was in London for 8 years, from 2009 to 2018 when I retired, and I took so many liberties. I was hoping to find I got a great picture of me. Have you seen the Festival of Remembrance at the Albert Hall?
I have not.
Okay, right. The Festival of Remembrance at the Albert Hall. The Albert Hall's a massive, great hall, and they have a Festival of Remembrance, bands playing and stuff like that. And the Chelsea pensioners come down the stairs, march across, go and sit in the stands, and then you get different pieces, and you get the bands playing and stuff like that. And then towards the end, you got the actual festival, the act of remembrance. So all the troops come in and form up while they do the remembrance piece. So the garrison sergeant major stands at the top of the stairs, and these curtains open, and the different groups going down. So the Chelsea pensioners going down these stairs. My job, get this, I'm on the curtain. I'm opening the curtain. I'm on one side of the curtain. My oppo's on the other side of the curtain. We open the curtains. The garrison sergeant major's telling them to march down the stairs. So I was trying to find it, but I couldn't find it. but I've got this. There's a picture of me with the Chelsea pensioners going down. You can see the poppies, the stage, and everything at the back there, and there's me going in my full blues uniform, medals on, and everything. This one up here, the blues there.
That's funny.
Oh, it's just terrific. Yeah, it was so funny.
Yeah.
But nowadays, although I'm retired, I'm still a mess member, and I'm a mess member of the senior rates mess in the British Forces.
Oh, okay.
I'm a member of HMS Victory senior rates mess.
Huh.
So HMS Victory, as you know, is still a fully commissioned warship. It's the oldest commissioned warship in the world.
Wow. That is
And
awesome.
I'm a member of the mess.
That is awesome. Well, Tim, let me ask you this. Tell everybody where they can find your podcast if they want to listen to it. I know I've got the link going down here, but is there a specific place that you post them, or?
Well, they can dive onto YouTube, and they can find me on YouTube if they type in Tim Heale 9. 9 is my scrum half number. It's my rugby playing number, which is a scrum half. So Tim Heale 9, or they can put in Ordinary People's Extraordinary Stories. They'll find it there, or they can find it on Everyday Conversations Regarding Mental Health, or if they go onto any of the major podcast apps, if they want to listen to what I do, again, put in Tim Heale 9 or Everyday Conversations Regarding Mental Health or Ordinary People's Extraordinary Stories, you'll find me there.
All right. Well, Tim, I appreciate you coming on. If you don't mind hanging, we're going to go ahead and throw the exit video up. And I appreciate everybody that was tuning in and listening. I had an amazing time.
I've had a fun time. I've really enjoyed myself. So we've been talking about my favourite subject, me. Oh, just on top of the ball there is a bearskin.
Is a what?
A bearskin. Would you like to touch my bearskin? There you go. Look, full on guards bearskin.
Yep. I think one of the pictures I used, you were actually wearing one. I think one of the pictures I was using for the preview for this episode, you had a trophy next to you. I think you were wearing one of those. I
might have been wearing the cap.
Yeah, you might have been actually. Now that I think about it,
I might have been in the blues. That one's blues.
Yep. You might have been. Now that I think about it, you might have
carrying a big trophy, which is I think it might have been the Guinness Rugby.
It was.
Premiership Rugby.
Yep. Yeah. I remember
I was in absolute bits on that. I tell you, I got the opportunity for the best part of 12 years. I was responsible for finding guys to go out onto the pitch at Twickenham, mainly Twickenham, for all the England rugby games to take out the flags prior to the game. So just before the games, you got the England flag, and then you've got the opponent's flag. And I generally begged to go on the opponent's flag because I've done it so many times. But I used to have to find, on average, about 32 guys per game. And then at the end of the season, the regular season, Premiership season, we also got the opportunity to do a bit of flag stuff, but also a couple of people to take out the Premiership trophy. Now, my team that I support is Northampton Saints, and they were up against the Saracens. Now, Saracens, I mean, they were the top team, but Northampton Saints, it went to 100 minutes this game is normally 80 minutes. It went 100 minutes. I'm stood on the sideline waiting to take out this bloody great big trophy in bits, watching this, and it's gone right down to the actual wire. The clock had gone red. They were still 3 points behind. They backed themselves. They totally backed themselves. They could have drew the game and won it if they had by taking the 3 points, but they went for the 5 and the 2.
Man.
Clock's gone red. They've got the ball over the line, and they kicked the conversion 24-20. I almost couldn't do the job. I was so emotionally charged up by this. Stood on the bloody sidelines waiting this game from the end of the game, 80 minutes, and they've gone to 100, and we're still there waiting. And it was such an exciting game.
Yeah.
It was really, really. I had to muster everything I could just to march this bloody great big this cup out onto the pitch. What a great day that was!
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, I'm a big American football fanatic, so I love the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm the same way when I watch
Well,
that game.
back in the day when I was in Berlin, that's when I first started watching the American football, because that's the only telly that we could get, the AFN back then, Armed Forces Network.
Mhm.
And I followed the old Dallas Cowboys
Mhm.
and also the Houston Oilers,
Yep.
what they were then. Yeah,
Yep. Back
so
when Warren
I
Moon.
kind of followed it for quite a lot of years. And 1988, it was probably 87, I started playing American football. And I played for a team in England called the Milton Keynes Pioneers. And in 1988, we became conference champions. We won that year. And
That's
I
all.
used to play outside linebacker or defensive end.
Okay.
And then the following year, 89, I got an opportunity. A mate of mine said, look, we're short of some players. Come and play for us. And he played for a team, I think, a division or 2 divisions down from us, called the Chiltern Cheetahs. So I went and played for them. I had an absolute field day. you know when you get a big kid plays with a load of small kids,
Yep.
and they just annihilate them. I was like that kid. I had about half a dozen sacks to my name. I was smacking people left, right, and Chelsea. I had a fantastic game.
You're like, I want this for every weekend.
Yeah, why can't I do this for the Pioneers every week?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
Yeah, come up against the big boys.
Joel's got a question for you. He wants to know if you ever went to Edinburgh Military Tattoo.
Oh, Edinburgh, yeah, up the tattoo. Yeah, that's quite a fun time. I did it once while I was in London. The Because we were looking after the 3 incremental companies, so we had 3 incremental companies of foot guards, 9 making company Grenadier Guards, number 7 company Coldstream Guards, and F company Scots Guards. But we also had the 5 foot guards bands, which took in the Welsh and the Irish Guards. So the Scots Guards band, I did a bit of work with, and they were going up to play at the Edinburgh military tattoo. And they said, look, we've got a spare place on the coach. Did you want to come up for a couple of days? It's a Pope Catholic. So I went up, and I was behind the scenes for the Edinburgh military tattoo. Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, the only downside, right, to the Edinburgh military tattoo is that they play an awful lot of bloody bagpipes, a load of cat stranglers. God, what a bloody horrible den that is. Other than that, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah,
Yeah, no fun at all.
I can imagine. Well, Tim, I appreciate you coming on. Like I said, if you don't mind staying for just a quick second, we'll throw the exit video up. And
No problem at all. Thank you so much for having me, Donald.
hey,
I've had a ball. I've had a whale of a time.
me too, me too. Joel and Brian and everybody that listened, I appreciate y'all for coming on. Y'all take care and be safe. We'll see y'all. I believe Wednesday is the next show. Y'all take care. Be safe.